Your cerebral cortex is divided into different lobes, and in the parietal lobe, this area, that's mainly the sensory area. So you have the somatosensory cortex, your gustatory cortex, your flavor one, that's in here. And your temporal lobe, that's for auditory. So auditory cortex is in your temporal lobe. And occipital lobe, that's mainly your visual cortex. And you also have some association area. Your prefrontal cortex, we explain the function, that's for high-level reasoning. And the Wernicke area, that's the area for language understanding. The white matter, they are the tracks of axons. So their function is send a signal up and down from different brain area to different brain area. And this is called the longitudinal fasciculi. So that's the track for the different lobes for them to communicate. And in the center part of the brain, you have some gray area. So these are the cell body located. We call them basal ganglia, also called the basal nuclei. And these nuclei, these neurons release dopamine. And their main function is motor control. So not motor initiation. Initiation starts from the motor cortex. That's where they adjust the movement. So if this neuron been damaged, is a pretty famous disease called Parkinson's disease. That's when the basal ganglia, basal nuclei cells been damaged. And the treatment is L-DOPA. L-DOPA is the precursor of dopamine. So Parkinson's disease, that happens in the basal ganglia. Another one is Huntington's disease, and is also impaired the movement. Now we reach the dicephalon. So dicephalon is around here. The biggest one is called the thalamus. This is like a train station. Information move in, move out of the cortex will go through the thalamus. And this area is called the hypothalamus. Release a lot of traffic hormone. The hormone gonna control another endocrine gland. They will control the pituitary gland. That's the endocrine gland. That's hypothalamus. Also, hypothalamus control your hunger, your thirst, your body temperature. That's in the hypothalamus. And this one called the epithalamus. In the epithalamus, the most important area is the pineal gland. Release a hormone called melatonin. It controls the sleep-awake cycle. And that's the thalamus. So different nuclei, they reach different cortical area. So they're like a train station. Information move in, move out of the cortex will go through the thalamus. So that's the function of the thalamus. Then hypothalamus is a area control your endocrine gland, also control the autonomic nervous system. And that's the function of hypothalamus. I'll leave it to you. So hypothalamus is this area. It controls the pituitary gland. And pituitary gland sits in the sphenoid bone. When we talk about the sphenoid bone, the center called sella tussica. And that's where the pituitary gland sits. The area the pituitary gland sits. Reticular formation is a group of neurons. So it's mainly in the brainstem and functions sleep-awake cycle, mental alertness. When we talk about the consciousness, when you're awake, it's in awakefulness. So above it is called alertness. That's when you see a bear coming towards you. Your sympathetic system is super activated. You can go to the alertness. When you go to sleep, that's this state. And some patients, they fall into coma, and that's in this state. So we have different state of consciousness. And we do have some scientists, they study consciousness, and they found some evidence show that we may have consciousness after the body die. So if you are interested in this is FYI I found. I'll leave this to you. And there's an article I found. When we go to sleep, we measure the brain activity. And what we found is the neurons actually fire, if it's not more, it's fire the same as you sleep. But they fire in more synchronized way. So if you measure their brain activity, you can see those waves. So in different stages of sleep, they generate electrical activity. And the scientists ask why the neurons have to fire when you go to sleep. And there are some theories. The old theory is you conserve energy, but the new theories talk about you actually need to sleep, and when the neurons they fire together, they wire together. So a reason is help you to store the memory you learned in the daytime. And when you go to sleep, we found we have different stages of sleep. So every night you sleep for 7 to 8 hours. What happens is you will go to the deep sleep, and it will come back to the REM. REM is rapid eye movement. So that's when you dream. So when you're dreaming, it's actually pretty close to you're awake. The brain activity just one step away. And you will go back to sleep and come to dream, and you repeat this cycle for 4-5 times. So you dream actually 5 times a night. Most people only remember the last dream. And when we look at the people with depression, with anxiety, what happens is they actually interrupt their sleep-awake cycle. So that's the normal sleep-awake cycle. You go to sleep, it takes about 90 minutes, you go to the REM, you dream, and repeat this cycle 4 or 5 times. But people with depression, they actually quickly go into this cycle, and they come back and awake. They're awake in the middle of the night. So they totally interrupt the sleep cycle, and turn out their body could not recover well, and their brain could not function well. And that will affect their physiology. So it's a psychology disease, but turn out it will affect their physiology. The next brain areas we're going to talk about is the limbic system. It's not one area. It's several brain areas, including the hippocampus. That's the brain area associated with memory. Amygdala, that's the brain area associated with emotion, especially negative emotion-related memory. So the limbic system, its main function is emotion and memory. So that's the limbic system's functions. Store the long-term memory and emotion-related memory, that's amygdala. And the smell is a big trigger of memory because it will activate amygdala. And when we talk about the hippocampus, we have to talk about this person. His name is HM. HM is a patient, and when he was in the 30s, he decided to receive a surgery to remove hippocampus, and the reason is he has epilepsy. So turn out after the surgery, he removed the hippocampus. So that's the brain area. They generate a lot of electrical signal, and that's epilepsy. So they remove it. His epilepsy is well controlled, but the problem is he could not form any new memory. And eventually he gave up his life because he could not form any new memory. He could not find a new job. He could not switch to a new home, and could not even switch new phone because he won't remember them. So eventually he went into the hospital. It's a medical school affiliated hospital, and tell them, okay, study me. So they study him for about 50 years, and we know a lot of memory because of HM. And the scientists found we have the short-term memory, and those short-term memory need to be transferred into long-term memory. This will stay in your brain, and this process called consolidation. And this process requires hippocampus. Because HM, he does not have hippocampus anymore, so he could not turn his short-term memory into the long-term memory. And that's why he meets some people, he introduces himself to them, he make new friends, he go to sleep. Well, this disappear. So he won't be able to meet new people, make new friends, switch new job. He could not form the new long-term memory. And also this process requires sleep. So if you did not sleep well, actually it will compromise your performance in the test, because to form a good long-term memory, you need a good quality of sleep. And that's the experiment scientists did to people with memory impairment like HM. He found you have to draw the circle. Like this is difficult. Actually, they cover this part. You have to look at the mirror and draw the line within these two stars. And every time it go out, create an arrow. And what they found is HM actually become better at this task. So he can learn something. It's just he did not remember it. So we have different kind of memories, and that's because of HM. So this table tells you the short-term memory, long-term memory. And at the molecular level, the memory is due to the synapse. So the synapse, they're able to grow out, connect with other neurons, form a new connection. And last time we talked about the glutamate. That's the neurotransmitter associated with the memory, and that's this part will make the connection stay together. And at the molecular level, we found your memory is stored at the synapse. So repetition is the key. So repetition, you repeat, activate this synapse, and they will become stronger. They're gonna release more neurotransmitter every time